Evidently, Democrats have learned nothing from this past election. They clearly don't know what the average American wants, seeing as how they have now elected David Hogg to the vice chair of the Democratic National Committee, or otherwise known as the DNC. Now, if you don't know who David Hogg is, he is a staunch anti-gun advocate who survived a school shooting when he was younger in high school, and he has gone on since then to be a political advocate. So I'll be going into his opinions and giving my opinion on his opinions and some of the statements he's made, as well as talking about how this is just an absolutely terrible idea. But before I do that, please, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, like, share the video, and leave your comments down below. Sorry, I'm trying to grow the channel. Goal is to hit 500 before the end of the year. But I'll leave my spiel there, and let's get into this video. So we have this from Scott Pressler. If you don't know who Scott Pressler is, we probably would not have won the election. We being the Republicans, we would not have won the election if it was not for Scott Pressler. Scott Pressler is he's I don't even know how to describe him in ways that would be enough, because he's just an amazing person, down to earth guy. Every single time I see this guy, he's just amazing. Very genuine, nice, caring kind of guy. I would love to meet him someday, but we do not have enough Scott Presslers. What he does is he goes into states that are leaning or they're a little bit more purple, and he gets them to be more Republican. He gets people registered to vote unlike anyone before him. He has probably registered the most people by himself in history in the United States. So Scott Pressler, amazing guy. So we have this statement from Scott Pressler. Excuse me. We have the statement from Scott Pressler. Dear America, the Democrats just elected rabid anti-gun activist David Hogg as vice chairman for the DNC. In 2023, Hogg posted, "You have no right to a gun. To every hunter/gun owner in America, it's time to vote." And right now, he's been pushing for Pennsylvania voters to get registered to vote and to vote Republican and stop voting Democrat. So he's been on the war path in Pennsylvania trying to get people to register as Republican and vote in the elections. So this tweet he highlights here from David Hogg: "You have no right to a gun. You are not a militia. When you're talking about your Second Amendment rights, you're talking about a state's right to have what is today the National Guard. The modern interpretation of 2A is ridiculous fraud pushed for decades by the gun lobby." That is not true. If you read the Second Amendment, it clearly states that you have the right to own and keep and bear arms. It does mention militia, but how are you to create a militia, which is a civilian armed, paramilitary, basically? How are you to create a militia if you first do not have the right to own a weapon as an individual? These cannot exist together. You cannot create a militia unless you have the right to own and keep and bear arms as an individual. And we also have this community note. If you don't know, on X likes to community note posts that are incorrect, and the community notes are created by, of course, the community. So this note reads, "While individual opinions about the proper reading of the Second Amendment to the United States Constitution differ widely and have for generations, the United States Supreme Court has ruled that it does protect an individual right to bear arms with certain limitations." There should be no limitations. There shouldn't be any limitations. The Second Amendment is very clear. You have the right to keep and bear arms, and that shall not be infringed. But we'll get there someday. We're getting closer and closer to having every state having constitutional carry. We'll get there at some point. And clearly, Democrats don't know what people want. People want to be able to defend themselves. They want to be able to defend their families. They want to be able to keep and bear arms. They also want to see people deported, but David Hogg does not agree with that either. Let's go ahead and read this speech from, not read. Let's listen to this speech by David Hogg at the DNC.
Are you ready to go on the offense? Are you ready to go on the offense? We have to win back our young people. I am the only candidate in this race for any of these positions that is under 30. We had a 20-point shift to the right of our young people. We must show our young people we give a damn about them, that we support them, and we invest in them. I have raised over $11 million in the past year to support the future of our party, because I don't just tweet, I don't just talk the talk, I also walk the walk and I knock the knock in doors across the country. But I'm counting on you in this moment right now. I need your support. Please vote for me. Thank you so much.
So this is David Hogg. This is who they have elected. Nice little speech, I guess. A lot of empty words, not really saying what he's going to do. But that's, most politicians, most people trying to get into positions of power, they just kind of say empty words that make people feel good. But what I really wanted to highlight were some of David Hogg's statements, especially surrounding guns. But let's first go into this one where he says that you should just outright abolish ICE. Now, this is from 2020. This is about 5 years ago, so hopefully his opinion has changed since then, seeing as how 80% of Americans are in favor of deporting criminals, and about 55 to 60% are in favor of just deporting people that crossed illegally. So hopefully he's changed his position on that since then, seeing as how that's not going to win Democrats any votes if you're advocating for abolishing ICE. So maybe his opinion has changed, and the video he's commenting on is pretty irrelevant now. It's just talking about I'll go ahead and read it. It says ICE is illegally detaining immigrant children in hotels. Watch these lawyers get violently removed from a Hampton Inn in Texas after trying to give legal aid to the kids there. I'm not really sure what's going on in this video. I didn't look into it. I don't care. I more wanted to highlight his statement about abolishing ICE, and I'm sure he's made statements about abolishing police and stuff like that, seeing as how some of his statements about guns. Let's see. He said if the Secret Service can't keep the president safe from a 20-year-old with an AR-15, if 100 cops in Uvalde can't stop an 18-year-old with one, maybe it's time to stop talking about the cops and start talking about the effing guns. I agree, David. We should be talking about the guns. We should be talking about how everyone should own a gun, so that way we can stop the bad people with guns. I'm not sure about your opinions on firearms and people owning firearms, but me personally, I think everyone should own a firearm, because the more people that do, the more likely we are to stop the bad people with guns. People break laws. They will always break laws. Look at the war on drugs. Was the war on drugs successful? In no way, shape, or form was it successful. People still got access to things that they shouldn't be getting access to. So if you start taking away the rights of individuals to keep and bear arms, the people that break the laws anyway will still get access to them. So that just puts the average law-abiding person at a disadvantage. So how do we solve that issue? Well, of course, we make it easier to access a gun for a law-abiding citizen. That way, when a criminal who is there to break the laws and doesn't care about breaking the laws can be stopped by someone who is a law-abiding American. It's that simple. It really is that simple, people. We need to give people guns so they can defend themselves. It is the great equalizer. I'm not exactly the largest person. I want to be able to defend myself if I need to. And if you take away my right to own a firearm, if you take away my the women in my family, if you take away their right to own a firearm, what happens to them when a big burly man wants to harm them? They're going to be at a disadvantage. Firearms are the great equalizer. They will equalize any fight. So that's why we need our rights to own them. Guns turn disputes that would typically be a fistfight at worst into a shootout. We are living in the middle of a domestic arms race that's only good for gun sales, not public safety. I hate this argument because people are like, oh, just get into a fistfight. Why pull a gun? Fistfights can be incredibly deadly. A lot of people don't know this, apparently, because they just see movies and stuff. You cannot knock someone out. If they're out for more than 15 seconds, more than 30 seconds, you have caused major brain injury. You see in the movies, they get it wrong all the time, and I think it's hilarious. Well, it's not really hilarious. It's just misinformation, and it's for movie plots. But you see people get knocked out for hours at a time after being hit in the face, and that is not realistic in any way. But that's besides the point. What I'm talking about is fistfights. You don't know how far that other person is willing to go. You see fights all the time where the people, they get knocked down, and then the person fighting them just keeps going and going and going, and you don't know when they're going to stop. So sure, fistfights are better than having a shootout in some situations, but overall, brandishing a firearm is more than enough to stop a fight entirely. And of course, we're not going to see statistics on this because nothing happened. There was no fight. There was no shootout. All you had to do was brandish the firearm. Even if both of you have firearms, you're going to be like, all right, I don't want any of it. It's safer to have guns. It's safer to have a gun because you don't know how far someone's willing to go in a fist fight. And all it takes is for them to get that one lucky punch right in your forehead or wherever, right nice good one to the face. You fall back, hit your head, and you're gone. That easy. It's literally that easy. All you have to do is hit your head in the right spot, fall down the right way, you're gone. It happens all too often, but people think fistfights are safer. Maybe statistically, but we don't have the statistics on when people brandish firearms and stop fights entirely. Let's see. I think he had more statements about guns. Damn, it's crazy. I know more about guns than the NRA. Turns out I did learn a few things from joining the shooting team. That's called unloading. So he has a lot of tweets about guns. Let's see. If this can happen to a president with Secret Service, if this can happen in Parkland with a cop assigned to our campus, if this can happen to Uvalde with hundreds of police, stop talking about good guys with guns and start doing something about the guns. So this guy is a staunch anti-gun advocate, which is somewhat in line with the Democratic Party, but overall, the vast majority of Americans want you to own guns. So clearly, the Democrats have learned nothing from this past election, and I'm all for it. I'm here for it. You want to lose more elections? Go for it, guys. I'm all for it. You want to lose more elections? Go for it. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. What do you think about the new vice chair of the DNC, and what do you think about gun ownership? Let me know. Let me know down in the comments. But thank you for tuning in. Again, like, share, and most importantly, subscribe. I'm trying to hit 500 subscribers by the end of the year. Thank you very much, and peace out.